We're giving some talks to introduce the topic of open humanities data and a special collection of the Journal of Open Humanities data dedicated to language documentation.
Linguists and those who use language data have historically very widely varying practices in regards to data sharing and data citation. And these being two very basic fundamentals of data use in a discipline, we as the LDIG sought to develop discipline-specific data citation and attribution conventions, and to give our field a sort of guidepost or best practices for data use, data citation, and data sharing that we could use as a field to sort of unify our practices. This document is really a valuable reference for the field. It contains both the discussions of different kinds of data and how they might get cited, whether you're citing an entire collection of items or just one tiny snippet of a sound file. How do you do that when you're citing data, when you're writing about it or presenting about it? It contains templates for data citation, both in text and in the bibliography. And there's also sample citations for all kinds of different actually existing data sets. So if you're interested in the variety of linguistics data and how they can be cited, or even if you're interested in learning more about the particular difficulties or obstacles that folks may have with citing language data, I invite you to check out these recommendations. They're a great teaching tool for use in classes. If you are writing a paper and wondering how to cite your data, we've got some recommendations in here that'll apply to you. And if you're an editor or contributor to a journal or book, using these recommendations can help with your style sheet when you're advising people how to cite data in their contributions. So all of this work by the LDIG provides some foundational information and best practices that can support the future of linguistics data work to make it more findable, more reusable, more replicable, more reproducible. And this work supports the projects like the one that I'd like to invite my colleagues and co-editors, Richard Griscom and Hugh Patterson, to share with you next.
In addition to the large amount of work required to create language documentation materials, language documentation practitioners face a number of challenges in getting recognition for their work. So for example, the lack of clear standards for data creation, curation, sharing, and reuse, so the lack of standards for peer review of collections, and the lack of standards for the evaluation of collections by hiring committees.
We aim to jumpstart the conversation around the peer review process for language documentation collections. We've identified several issues that we would like to address in the collection. How maybe should peer review interact with levels of access in a collection? Or how should peer review interact with organizations of the collection and the description of the various sub-elements of a collection? How should peer review interact with comprehensiveness of the documentary record? What would the life cycle of a collection look like? And in what model of peer review works well with language documentation collections? We want to push the conversation a little bit further than just peer review of a quote data paper or a collection description. We want to look at actual peer review of the content of the collection and what that means for enhancing the usability of that collection.